So,
I just started recording.
yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Yeah, I'm happy to wait a few more minutes and things, and there's probably going to be more people signing on. So
Yeah.
probably the end of a busy week for everybody, I would think. So is everybody kind of signing in from other parts of the country, or kind of all over, or mostly California, or?
Oh, they should be coming from all over.
Mhm.
And we've been having low attendance only because we are in PST. And so we have some international folks and whatnot, which is,
Mm.
they're banking on us recording the presentation and posting it on the site.
Okay. And where are some of our international students from this year?
Oh, all over the place. We have some from Uganda, Costa Rica, trying to remember all the places.
Pakistan. I just read in the Slack.
Wow.
Yeah, we have Pakistan.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's going to be like an 18-hour difference, or 20
Right.
20-hour difference.
I
Yeah,
had,
do you mind letting people in, Blaine? Is that okay?
oh no, that's no problem. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing, kind of just moderating, staying from the background, or staying in the background and letting folks into the room and when they do cut out sometimes.
Great, great.
All right, and when you're ready, I can go ahead and just introduce you.
Yeah, sure. Well, why don't we do that? And Rick too, because we're going to talk a lot about equipment and cage and things. So
Sure. All right. Well, welcome everybody that has been able to attend. My name is Blaine, the admissions director for the J School, or Berkeley Journalism, and we have an awesome presentation today on equipment and student showcase presentation. So we have two of our my colleagues, Chris O'Day and Rick Johnson, who work at the J School as well, and they do a lot more. They work very closely with the students in regards to handling equipment, checking it out, and what have you. And I'm gonna let them explain their jobs. I'm fairly new to the J School, and so they are the experts. And I'll hand it over to you, Chris and Rick.
great. Thanks, Blaine. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Blaine.
Hi, I'm Chris O'Day. I'm director of production here, and I'll let Rick introduce himself.
Yeah, my name is Rick Johnson, and I'm media operations manager. And part of my role is managing all the equipment at the J School.
I used to do Rick's job previously, so I continue to buy a lot of the equipment based on what faculty wants and needs. And our instruction is usually based around faculty syllabi and what they are choosing that they want to be using as part of the industry or experience. So I can only assume that coming up this next fall, there's going to be a bit of remote experience built into the fall semester and the spring, and probably moving forward at the J School, just because I hear of so much remote shooting happening in the industry because of COVID. And it probably won't fully go away ever, is the way that we're hearing from the industry. So there'll be some remote contingents and learning workflows that work with that. But Rick and I are primarily the technologist people at the school. So we're happy to answer any questions either now or later. Now will be more like a presentation. This is April, and we're going to meet each other again in the summertime, and we're also going to have a deep dive in the fall when we get into when you show up and boot camp. There'll be all kinds of markers that we'll talk about, but mostly I want to give you a general overview of some things to consider. Now, some of these things are technical things. Nearly everything is technical, these things, but also they may involve purchases and or money considerations that you may want to have. So I'm happy to discuss that further as we get into that, but we probably won't get into the weeds on any of it, but we'll kind of go over everything quickly and try to give you a basis of what the first year will look like and maybe what the second year might look like. And if you have any questions, just please raise your hand or put it in the reactions. You can raise your hands. So I think you're all pretty familiar with Zoom these days. So great. Well, thank you. Welcome to the J School, or welcome to the Berkeley Journalism. Sorry, we used to call it the J School. We sort of focus on Berkeley Journalism. And we're excited to meet everybody. I think what we'll do eventually is do proper introductions. But in order, because we only have a few minutes, I kind of want to get over everything. And if you want to ask any questions, just please introduce yourself when you do that. So I'm going to jump, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump into a keynote that I have here that just kind of gives an overview of the different equipment that we have and some of the expectations, especially as you come into the first year. Okay, so let me just jump into that and we'll go from there. So actually, some of this may be, I may have to share my screen a certain way. Just a second. I'm gonna share my sound as well. Great. Okay. So the cameras that we're going to be using for first years are the Canon C100 Mark IIs. So we have a good ratio of cameras to students, and they're good ergonomic based camera. If you're not familiar with them, you're welcome to check them out up online, and we can also send on some videos that would be good examples of it. We also have a menu simulator that you can actually take a look at and such. But they're handheld cameras that create a good intimate response for a lot of video journalism. Okay, just 1 second.
There's some kind of strange gray boxes over your keynote.
Yeah, I think it's my command center, right? So it's
It wasn't there when you first shared, but interesting. I've never seen this.
well, you know, if I share my if I share my desktop rather than just the program, let me see if they go away. Do they go away here?
Oh yeah, there's one up in the top right corner. I've not seen that, but oh, it just went away. You're good. All right.
Okay, cool. Thanks for mentioning that. So, so these are the first year cameras. That's a menu simulator. I'm going to send this PDF to you. This keynote is a PDF to you, and this is a menu simulator, so you can kind of mess around on this once you get the cameras, or if you wanted to explore what the menus might look like. I suspect some of you may have cameras that you're shooting with, but these are the video cameras that we use. We use video, still, GoPros, all kinds of cameras. So this is the second year camera. It's a Canon C200. We're more of a Canon house. Most of our lens and glass is from Canon, and our bodies are from Canon as well. So we kind of like them, and we've had an ongoing professional relationship with Canon for years now. This is a 4K camera that our documentary lead, Jennifer Redfern, had vetted and wanted to enjoy using a camera like this that has the capability of 4K. We'll talk about 4K workflows later, probably later in the summer during orientation later, but you can kind of take a look at these. These are some Canon and Tokina glass that we have. The Tokina is just the one lens we have is 11 to 16 millimeter. But for a lot of photography students, multimedia students, and the like, they may be interested in using you know, these wider lenses. A lot of our C100s, or all the C100s, come with a 24 to 105 millimeter f4 lens, but we do have some more specialty lenses, especially for thesis projects. So the 85 primes and the 70 to 200s. Photojournalism, which is run by Ken Light. He specializes in some 100 millimeter macros and some 300 millimeter, 400 millimeter telephotos that they've used for like sporting events and things like that. So let's see, was there something in the chat? Will there be working equipment workshops during boot camp? Yes, there should be. So definitely boot camp is all just technical stuff. So yeah. Hold on for a second. Rick, you're not seeing that box, are you? The chat box that's
I am seeing a gray box in the middle of the screen.
right in the middle of the screen. Strangely enough, when you bring the chat up, I'm gonna have to talk to somebody at Zoom.
Yeah, that's very odd.
When you bring the chat up, you can't get rid of it when it's playing the keynote. So go figure, right? So anyway, now it's better, right?
Yeah, I can monitor the chat, so you don't have to.
Good, thanks very much. If you can do that. So this is the DJI Mavic Pro. We have 6 drones. Is that right, Rick? Or do we have 7 now? 6?
We have 6 drones right now.
6 drones. Okay. So that's the the DJI Mavic 2 Pro, and this has a 1-inch sensor with a Hasselblad lens. Really great, beautiful shots. We've been getting more and more students interested in both drone journalism, but also just using drones for a few shots in their video pieces. There's actually a class offered here about droning, usually in the fall or spring. We're trying to make it in the fall so that you can use the drones all year long. So there's some specialty things about the drones we'll talk about later on. We also carry GoPros for small action-based items, and these are GoPro 7s. I know they're at 9 now, but we went with a bunch around the 7 series. Something that students will want to invest in, especially the students who are doing video or multimedia. The expectation is that you should have SD cards for the cameras, and these are some of the better SD cards that we recommend and vetted. They are fast enough to deal with cameras and fast cameras, even the 4K compressed. And so these are the specs that we would like people to take a look at. And these are ones that we do not buy for the students, because this is sort of like, this is like your media, and we find that it's better maintained and remembered and things like that when people buy their own cards. Otherwise, they just end up losing the cards we give them. So I recommend 64 gigs. You could go up to 128 gigs. You can find these all on Amazon and other places. So just know and understand some of the specs before you start purchasing all these and all.
Do you typically recommend SanDisk cards too, Chris?
Right. Yeah. SanDisk is a good professional name. They're good quality. I have a SanDisk hard disk that I'll show you in a second. But that's these are quite good, and they've been vetted by us continuously. So MacBooks, we're a Mac house, so we expect students to arrive with MacBook laptops. So especially the video students, they're going to need certain specs, and we'll send those specs out this summer. But we wait for a little bit because we want to make sure Apple doesn't introduce anything. But for people who need to invest in a new laptop, this is sort of the range that we would normally expect a student to have. Like, this has 16 gigabytes of RAM in it, and if you're doing video at journalism, we would expect you to have no less than 16 gigs of RAM. Narrative writing students could buy a less expensive computer because they're going to be doing more writing and less visuals. Audio may probably be able to purchase something a little bit lower end, but I was trying to hit like a midpoint. We'll have a very thorough document in the summertime that's much more detailed about purchasing computers. So one of our our biggest theory here is that audio is more important than video. And so that's something that we really stress here. And that means, both as it relates that, the audio for your video pieces is very important. So we never really like to consider anything that looks too beautiful, but then sacrifices audio and such. So that's something to sort of pay attention to.
There's a question. Is there any financial assistance available for purchasing MacBooks?
That's a good question, and I don't have an immediate answer, but it's been a conversation with Jeff Rohde and Tracy and other people. So let's continue to talk about it. And I know there's like emergency assistance for some students, but as it relates to laptops, I'm not sure. Every year, the university seems to offer free, not free, but if you apply for them, you can get them for free. What do they call them? ThinkPads, PC-based ThinkPads, which are sort of it's like an iPad, I guess, but it's a PC based, and we're not a PC house. So I don't really turn students onto that. But if they wanted a free laptop from the university, they could probably get, apply for one and get one. But all of our production work would be done on Apples. We're going to record audio like this. If you're solo with the camera, or if you're using a boom mic, you would need a second person, a 2-person crew. So you'll learn how to do this kind of stuff. You'll learn about microphones and understanding, how microphones pick up sound and what are the best microphones to use for your interviews and your live on the street stuff and web and other things. So we have professional level items like Sennheiser shotgun mics that are good for booming and all. So this would be an example of being out in the environment, booming somebody who's doing an interview. You know, this is over near the Golden Gate, but these are part of the audio setup for the cameras themselves. So we're going to sort of expect you to know all the different details about audio as it relates to the cameras. We use wireless lavs here, a Sennheiser G3 series, and we actually have some new G4s. These are wireless lavs that work real well when in mobile journalism. So we'll talk more about those later. We'll expect, gets into a little bit of lighting. We do a lighting, and we have some nice lights here we'll show you in a second. And we expect people to start understanding the lighting in different environments, outdoors, indoors, and the differences and how to record that. So this is just some technical info. I do color correction with each of our doc and short form projects, video projects at the end of the year. And if we can, you know, if multimedia has some projects, we can work those in too. So that's always a fun part of the end of your second year thesis. So this is not something that happens during the first year, second year. This is an example of the scheduler. We're going to jump to Rick in a little bit. He'll talk a little bit more about the scheduler, but this is how you would sign equipment out. And it looks like this in our setup. Actually, it probably looks a little bit newer, doesn't it, Rick?
Slightly newer. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the older version. Yeah.
This is the older. They just reslated it with a new UI. So one thing students should be aware of is that we'll expect you to have external hard drives. And there's been a significant shift in the last couple of years from external spinning drives that are called HDD drives, right? Like the one up in the top left, let's see. And they're cheaper now than they've ever been before. But the one like the SanDisk in the middle, the $140 one, or the one in the bottom left, the Samsung SSD, those are like a computer chip drive. So the information's housed and it can be gotten to kind of more immediately. So the drives are faster and you can use them. They're a little bit smaller. No, they're a bunch smaller than the spinning drives, but they're much faster and they're a bit more costly. So where you might spend $100 on a drive that has more space but spins, you would spend more money on a drive that's smaller and but doesn't spin, but actually functions faster. So it's important to think about some of these decisions, and we can talk about that later if you want to make some purchases like that. But this is about $100 to $200 purchase, and our anticipation would be you would probably want to have 2 of these drives probably at any given moment, just for working and backup. This is sort of an example. I pulled this off of a website, you know, so if you're looking for external drives, this is one that has a spinning disk in it, and it has 1 terabyte. That's the size of the drive. And I would never go any smaller than that, considering the nature of our media. And I would actually probably go maybe even a little bit bigger, but I would always specify 7,200 RPMs on a disk spinning drive. Whereas the SSD is offered there, but the price jumps up a bit. So you'd want to be careful about that. We can talk more about that too. So. This is a home-based drive. This is a larger 4 terabyte drive, and we recommend you backing up your media in the course of the year. So while you would have a working drive like that's small like this, or like the SSD drives, we would expect you to have a larger drive at home that could be, you know, it's usually more affordable. They're probably even cheaper than the 150 that you see here, but they would just live next to your computer at home, but they would serve as a backup. So every time you shoot, you would offload your media to your working drive and then offload it to your backup drive as well. We've seen students lose things, and it's really important to have stuff redundancy and have your media backed up. Insurance is a question that I'll have to talk more with Tracy and Blaine about. You're going to have some expensive equipment, and you're going to have laptops, and laptops already are $2,000-3,000. So we recommend that everybody have renter's insurance for their own private stuff, for their own private equipment. That's anything in your apartment or your bicycle or anything like that that might get lost or stolen or broken. But we will most likely, and I still have to get clearance on this, but the university may be paying and covering insurance for our equipment. So I wouldn't worry about our equipment in your possession. I would worry about your equipment. So that's a listing of the classes here: first year, fall, first year, second year, fall, spring, and then summer. So if you look on the left column, you're pretty much looking at video reporting. Everybody has to do J200, which is writing and reporting for different websites or hyperlocals or specialty topics. And then there's also intro to audio classes, things like that. The spring, there's more advanced video, more advanced multimedia and audio. Summer, there's the required internship for that first year. And then in the fall of your second year, you would specialize into documentary or short form video or multimedia audio, things like that. And then your spring of your second year is really just a lot of editing towards your thesis. So we just get a lot of people who are hitting it hard with our edit rooms. And luckily, fingers crossed with the pandemic and everything, we hope to have everybody back here in full force in the fall. So by the spring, we should be up and running. These are a couple of production shots from our students in past years. So you can kind of see like it's a pretty straightforward setup with cameras and things. Usually students are out there by themselves or with one other person. Usually the crews are no more than 2 people at a time. And that also helps to kind of create a sense of intimacy as well. So sometimes the topics you're talking about are personal, and it's easier for people to kind of get closer to you if there's only just 1 person or 2 people in your crew. So you can see some of these placements. Some of these students go to foreign countries to shoot. I think the one on the right here was in India. But students have gone all over the world, Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, Japan. They've shot all over South America and such. So your thesis is really open-ended. There are travel grants, I know, as well, to help students travel for their productions. Just some quick J School faculty. This was Andres's Trafficked in America. That was with Frontline. Was it a year or 2 ago, I think. And the IRP investigative program across the street, they just did the trials of Gabriel Fernandez last year, I think it came out, just as the pandemic was hitting or so. This was a multi-part series on Netflix. And just this week, we had our students featured and the school featured in the Frontline American Insurrection. This is from like April 13th. So it's just the other day. And Gisela here is, she was leading the way because she was doing a lot of early journalism with mobile phones and verification and using data in that way to verify people's locations and things like that. So very interesting program. Sorry. This is a shot from some of our documentaries, and that is the class from the other year. So I'll jump back here for a second. I'm gonna stop sharing. Yeah, is there any questions or anything? Equipment workshops and boot camps, right? The whole fall will be when we talk about boot camp, there will be definitely a dedicated time where we're talking just technical, like how to use all this equipment. And it'll be a prolonged period of time. It'll probably be a week. It may even be longer. There'll be plenty of workshops and other things. We also have online offerings through LinkedIn Learning that we encourage students to watch and also know before they come to class as well. And the financial assistance, we should talk more with Blaine and Tracy about that. Actually, Tracy probably knows more, and kind of keep talking about that. What software is used? Yes, oh, sorry about that. We use exclusively. We have available to us the Microsoft suites and the Adobe suite of all applications. So primarily what we're using is Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop, Audition, all that. There is a large contingent, would you say, Rick, about Pro Tools, or there's an interest in Pro Tools for the people doing podcasts and audio?
Yep.
And Rick is a quite more of an expert with Pro Tools. So, yeah. Okay.
Do you have Pro Tools?
Yeah, we have access to Pro Tools. We have a couple of different fobs. You have about 6 or 8 accounts. So we encourage people who want to dive deeper on that. Queena Kim is the leader of the audio program here. So she is she would be the faculty lead to make a decision about Pro Tools. So if people wanted to be learning it or using it, but they end up defaulting towards Audition because everybody has it available to them as university students. So, but if you wanted to make an argument to use Pro Tools, we surely can make that happen for you. So this is an example of the hard drive that I have, right? So this cost me about 140 or so. It's super small. I mean, this is my hand, so it fits in the palm of my hand. But I've come to really like this. It's about a 1 terabyte drive. So, and it is really, it's portable in other ways that other larger hard drives. This used to be the size of our hard drives. And we used to encourage people to carry them in hard cases. So if they dropped or, got wet or something, that they didn't go bad. And you can see that the hard drives, the external drives, are significantly larger than the SSD drive. So this is the one that has the computer chip in it, but this is the one that has the spinning drives in it. But most importantly is the spinning drives are 7,200, so they travel faster. Be careful about not spending enough money on drives, because you might end up getting a slower drive, and then you might not be able to do the kind of video editing that you need, or the processing in After Effects, or the animations that you may want. And you may end up having to buy another drive anyway. So when it comes to buying technology, my recommendation is don't buy too cheaply, because there's a lot of cheap offerings out there. And I'd rather talk to the students before they buy something than to mismanage that, but than buy the wrong thing and have to buy something later. I would also encourage you to wait on some of the things I send you and read them and then buy stuff. So we have a few drives here at school that Rick can loan out to you. These are 1 terabyte drives. So, and they connect with a USB-C connection. And most of the new computers have this USB-C, so they're traveling very fast. If your computer is older than 2019, this is 2021, 2018, maybe you'd have to have a fast computer from 2018. Some people choose to keep the computer that they're using. But if you're older or on a computer older than 2018, I think you're gonna need to invest in a new computer. So I know that's disappointing to hear for some people, but if you get started with a computer that's that old, you're going to experiencing hiccups, and then eventually by next year you're going to have to buy a new computer anyway, and you're going to want a new computer kind of for this program. So and a year ago, before the pandemic, it was like, maybe you might think it's less important, but now everybody had to be remote for a year, and everybody had to rely on the speed of their laptops. So that was a concern. I don't know what the future holds. Hopefully it doesn't hold another pandemic. But we have seen a lot of strange stuff happen in California between fires and pandemics and things like that. So, when we make recommendations like this, we're thinking about all these different things, and we don't want to give you a big, long bill for any of this, but there's an investment in this in your education that's important. So. Did you say 2018 MacBook Pro was too old with the cutoff? If you have a 2018 and you don't want to pay for a new one, you're going to have to talk to me about your specs first, and we can make some recommendations. And if you're going to be a narrative writing student and just doing Word documents, no problem. 2018 will be okay. But if you're doing any kind of visual for the school, it'll be different. You want to look at? Oh yeah, sorry.
Laura asked if SSDs are more reliable in terms of handling.
More reliable. I would say, out of my experience, yes, because I've had a longer experience with HDD drives. So like these larger drives, I've had many more years with, so I've seen them fail more often than I have with this. So I've only had this for 2 years now, but I've had no issues. Most importantly is it transfers faster. It reads faster when you're editing. It can process 4K faster, whereas this other drive may not be the speeds that you need. Not that you're shooting 4K, but that second year, there may be some stuff that you do shoot in 4K, and you're going to want drives fast enough to deal with them. So, yeah, don't think about the 4K thing. I don't want to bring 4K into this conversation, but but I do find those small SSD drives to be reliable, fast, and just moderately more expensive. So, but don't buy anything less than 1 TB. You need to be at 1 or 2 TB for these. Anything above 2 TB becomes a little bit cost prohibitive for the SSDs. Do you want to look at the cameras? Can I? Well, if there's
Is
any
there an
other-
equipment recommendation list somewhere? It was asked by Bruce.
Equipment recommendation list. That's a good. My recommendation is use our equipment.
Yeah.
You know, so is that we have a lot of gear and it's been vetted by me and Rick, and it's been tested by us. And
No,
before-
I meant the supplies you just mentioned. Is that listed somewhere?
Oh yeah, you know what? I don't have them straight listed and things, but I'm also kind of waiting a little bit because this is April, and I like to send that information out like midsummer, because some things get introduced between now and then.
Got it. Thanks.
So there may be some things, and then it works in your favor in a lot of ways, because the new things come in that are even faster, and the things that were fast enough just got cheaper. So rather than sending everything out right now, I don't want to do that. So, but you're free to be in touch with me and Rick as much as you like as we move forward. So, yeah. Now, we do have some other students here, although Blaine, maybe you can give me a little bit of insight. We're talking a little bit technical, and I think that was the purpose of the meeting. So I'm not sure, do we have many narrative writing students as well, or audio students? Because we do have different tracks here, so I want to pay attention and give them some
Oh,
time.
it's for everyone. Remember, this is being recorded, so
Okay.
if they're not here, they'll see it later.
The best I can say is that I'm definitely a moderate multimedia video journalist student with a lot of this equipment. Okay. If you are audio, because audio's files are so much smaller, video is 10 times the size of an audio file. So if you're in audio, a lot of the cost, or the hard drives or the computers, they can be lower than the expectation. And you can still be successful then. And if you're doing narrative writing and just Word documents and, posting to a website and things, then you could be, getting a laptop maybe for $1,500 or $1,200. There's some good solutions that are out there. And once again, we'll send those details too. So narrative audio, a little bit cheaper, and anything video related, you're going to have to spend some money in order to invest in that area of the education. So. Oh, okay, let's take a look at the gear over here. And I'm happy to, at this point, like if you just want to stop me, I'm going to show you some of the equipment that we have. And, if you have any questions or anything, kind of shout out, and we can talk about the experience or the equipment, technical, non-technical, whatever you like. Okay. I'm wondering if they can hear me though, if I'm far away from the lens of the camera.
Move the camera and you can help over here.
We can hear you, but just barely.
Just barely hear me?
Yeah.
That's awful. I've been teaching this way for like about a year now, so it's kind of crazy. So you can see the camera. So this is the C100, right? So I will try to speak up so you can hear, right?
No, we can hear you. We can hear you now.
You can hear me? Yeah, I'm a little bit closer to the thing. You might want to flip it unless you want to look at it. So this is the C100. This is a setup that would be pretty normal. We have Manfrotto tripods that we use, are carbon fiber, so they're light. You can carry them around a lot of places. But they also go up 6 feet high. So if the camera on top of it 6 feet, you can pretty much be shooting above a crowd, looking down, which is pretty nice. They all come with a 24-105 lens. So this is the Canon lens. This is the lens hood, but that's the size of the lens. And then together it weighs about probably 8 to 10 pounds, maybe.
Yeah,
8 to 10 pounds. Yeah. So it's not that bad, but it also, if you're carrying it for a long period of time, some people shoot for like 4 to 6 hours, for 2 6 hours a day, then that's something to sort of pay attention to. So And the microphone is sort of set up here so that this is mostly for indoor. This is like just a simple foam on the microphone. We have we have windscreens for these that we use outdoors, and thanks. We call them dead cats. So this is pretty much what our system would look like outdoors on a shoot. Can you go a little bit wider? Yeah. So you can kind of see that it's set up here like this. The microphone's a little bit projected out. When you're in a wide angle, this should not be catching the front of the microphone. And you're pretty much rocking and rolling at this point. The shotgun comes out here and comes to the far side of the camera. And we have two professional inputs here, two XLR inputs. And this gives you really great balanced audio. And this is what we say audio is more important than video, because there's a lot of video cameras out there, and some people have, some of these small compact mirrorless cameras, but they don't have a good audio solution. They have like a mini input, and that's not good enough for really professional audio. So we encourage you to use our equipment, especially in the first year, because the second year, the equipment becomes more amplified as C100 becomes C200. And then, we expect you to be able to succeed with that and all. So we do encourage you. These on the outside, to rent this camera would cost about $175 a day. And, we're getting our students giving these cameras back to us after having them all year long, so it's a great opportunity to get good working equipment. You can sort of see the setup here. So you have an OLED screen. You usually put your face in the viewfinder when you're shooting. And then these batteries in the back here also have reading on them. And you can usually take 2 to 3 batteries per shoot. We're going to move back towards, with the pandemic being less so and people being on campus more, we're going to move back to a model where you rent the equipment or loan the equipment out for a period of time. And for first years, that'll probably be something like 3 to 5 days. And then you would have to return the gear within that period of time. So the idea is that you'd grab the equipment, take it out, bring it back, check it back in, and get more equipment. So it'd be a pretty active equipment cage. So, Rick can talk a little bit more about that. So. Can we go wider at all with that camera to see this setup? Yeah.
A quick question I just dropped in the chat.
Yeah, what is it?
Ruth just asked, is there a rental fee?
No, your tuition is the rental fee. No, there isn't. There isn't. It's a good question, but there's some, I think there's some charge, like if you're in a production class, you have to pay a certain amount like for the production stuff, but that's just a one-time per charge. I think it's like $200 or something. So if you can see that this kind of a setup, yeah, it's kind of hard because we don't have the wide angle lens on it, but basically it's a boom pole setup. And then, I would also have like a wireless lav on me, or a lav on me. So, you'd have this sort of, yeah, we'll just bring that down, actually, that's fine. So, we'd have like a small wired lav, and you'd sort of put this on the person, and then you'd have a second boom mic right above them, and then you would frame. Rick's going to reframe in a second. And then the concept is that for every shoot that we do here with students, we would expect them to have 2 professional audio inputs. So one would be the boom here, the other one would be the lavalier on their chest. Like on a pin clip, and that gives everyone a really good visual, and then it would also give you excellent audio on 2 different tracks. You'd bring those tracks into Premiere, and you'd be able to edit them separately, and you'd have awesome audio. And that's how we get to. That's how we're going to end up teaching all of the technical side of things. So, if you're of course doing audio for a podcast, it's a little bit different because then you could do whatever you wanted because you didn't have any visuals. You could hook up a mic to the person, or we have these pistol grip mics that are like a shotgun mic, but in your hand. And some people have come to like those because it's just, looks like a pistol, and you can kind of roam around the area and just get really good sounds with that. So, oops. Can we look at one of the, oops. Yeah, one of the lights here. So. This way?
I think you already answered this question and just popped in the chat, but just to reiterate, Grace asked, how long can we rent the equipment for? And do we get it year long or for just several days at a time? And I think you had mentioned it's like 3 or 5.
Barring a pandemic, we gave people equipment longer this year because of the pandemic and because of the transfer of germs and things like that. But it was a one-time unique situation. So things work better when we have the equipment go out for a period of time and then bring it back. And with the cage back open, running its regular hours, we would anticipate that there would be like a 3 to 5 day turnaround, probably more like a 5-day turnaround maybe, and things. And it also helps because we found that when people keep a gear out for a long period of time, things happen. You know, people lose things, cars get broken into. Still the Bay Area, so theft is kind of a consideration. So we kind of want to, you know, so that's why some of the stuff I mentioned with insurance is important. So I would anticipate that would be probably like a 4 to 5 day turnaround, which is more than enough time because usually you don't go more than a weekend for a shoot because you have to deliver on the story quickly. So, you know, it's not intended, you know, it's not film school, it's journalism. So there's this quick turnaround to everything. So the deadlines and the turnaround. So the equipment is part of that expectation. So. These are some lights that we use. These are ICANN 1x1 lights, if you can kind of see them, and they're pretty good. They're LED lights. Let me turn this down a little bit, and they have the full range of going off to coming on. And then we found that they don't create any heat, but they toss light really nicely. And these work really well for small rooms and for interviews. And you can pretty much manage them if you can kind of see the shot of the whole light, or so that they don't take up much space. So they're also a small footprint. Do you want to talk about maybe the scheduler?
Yeah, I can go into it real quick. Just,
Yeah.
so people
I think what Rick's going to do is he's going to show you the scheduler, and you can kind of get a scope of some of the equipment from the scheduler because it's a listing of that. And of course, we'll have a special thing during boot camp about how to use the scheduler, but that might be a really good way to understand. And then, of course, if there's any technical stuff for us, students are invited to be in the production lab. We have private edit rooms, and everyone, you know, they're running Mac PowerBooks, or they're running Mac Pros. And we have 2 27-inch monitors in each of the stations. So, you know, they're all like professional edited studios. So that's a great solution. That way you don't have to be on your laptop the whole time. You can be using the school's resources. But of course, a lot of people are also doing mobile journalism. So they're working out in the field. They have to deliver in the field. So that's the reason that we ask people to arrive with a laptop.
Grace had a good question about, is there anything we can do now to learn over the next few months to prepare for new equipment?
For new equipment, you know, I'd be happy to put together some LinkedIn Learning or things like that, and people can kind of take a look at it. And all the Canon C100 Mark II is, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of videos online, but you know, I can try to find some that I could vet and show. And
yeah, I would say you could definitely check out YouTube. I mean, if you can get a head start on learning things, I mean, but you're also going to learn everything you need to know, the ins and outs and advanced uses of all the gear that we use here too.
Mm-hmm. Also, we have Blaine, this is something I should check with you because we have access to LinkedIn Learning, which through Berkeley. So Berkeley has an association with them. And so, but all the students here haven't started and there's not registration fees. So I'd want to know, like, I'd want to figure out like, how does their CalNet ID work? Because as you arrive here, you'll notice that like pretty much nothing really exists or works for you if you don't have a CalNet ID, because the CalNet ID is it's the one digital footprint that lets you into all that the university has to offer, the programs and the downloads and things. And they don't give that to you until registration is paid and things. So Blaine may have to give me a time frame about that because I'm not that familiar. So
Well, as soon as they SIR, I know that during summer, they'll get the students situated, start passing out information, and they'll receive emails for getting their CalNet set up and their Berkeley email and everything. So yeah, it's around summertime,
great. Okay.
early summer.
Great. Is there anything that anyone wanted to ask? I thought Rick could show you the scheduler and the equipment.
Yeah, I'll do it really quick. You don't have to dive too deep, but I'll show you guys what it looks like. It's kind of just like shopping.
It's like shopping.
Except you don't have to pay for it.
You don't have to pay for it. You don't get to keep it.
So this is what we call the scheduler. It's hosted through a company called Easy Office Inventory. Up at the top, you can search for any of the items that we have available to you. So if you, we're working on a project and you had a shoot coming up soon, or some type of interview or something you might need, you would start with a camera. So you could search C100. You could also put Canon C100 in there to get there a little quicker. And then you can narrow your search, but I just jumped into a whole bunch of things. But anyways, the scheduler calls things assets. And you'll learn more once you get here, but basically it'll bring you up to a list of all of our cameras. And as you can see here, we have plenty of cameras to go around. This is what's called list view. There's also gallery view, so you can see pictures of what you're looking at. Then you can click on the page, and there's several things that you'll see when you click on these pages, description of the page. And another important thing is if somebody else already has this specific camera checked out, every camera has an associated serial number that we designate to it. And there's a possibility that this one is already checked out. And of course, once you guys get here, we'll walk you through the process, but this is just so you can see what it looks like. And then once you find a camera that's available, you're just gonna add it to your cart. You can do it through here, and this is the part I was saying, it's just like shopping. You add it to your cart. Once you found all the other things you need, lights, microphones, etc., all those things, you'll set up a reservation time for the date you would like to come and pick it up, and then the date you would like to return it. Once you set a reservation, it pings me on the back end, and I know when to expect you. You show up on your given reservation day, and I'll walk you through the entire setup, and we'll test out every piece of equipment that you're about to use before you go on your shoot. So we know it's working, and we know that you don't have any questions going into your shoot.
We should probably check in with Coachy Hernandez. Richard Coachy Hernandez is the lead, and along with Jeremy Rue in multimedia. So some students may be interested in multimedia, and they always have a lot of equipment. And we should just double check. There's all kinds of, like, we have 360-degree view cameras, and we have the GoPros, and we have all kinds of other equipment. So it just takes time to kind of go through it all. I mean, we'll have sessions around the boot camp time discussing all that different type of gear and things. And then we do have some like emergency laptops. Like if your laptop breaks and you needed a laptop for a weekend or for a shoot, and you needed to borrow a laptop for 2-3 days, we can issue that out. The laptops are usually in pretty high demand, so we don't send them out you can't check one out for a semester or anything. It's just a immediate need. But there's things like that in addition to all the professional gear and gaffing. We definitely have some gaffing equipment in addition to the lights and sound blankets and things like that. So. Yeah. Can we check in with some of the students and maybe hear from them and about maybe what their interests might be? That might help us kind of prepare better for the fall. Maybe what they're thinking about in terms of their areas of interest, whether it's audio or video or multimedia or something like that.
Sure. If anyone that's here, if they're interested in asking any questions, you're welcome to. So,
hi, Ruth.
Hi. Can you talk a little bit about podcast setup, or is that not your area?
Yeah, no, I can, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, do you mind muting your mic?
Yep.
Yeah, so let's see. We have a studio here downstairs. Topher Ruth is our studio manager. And it's been difficult to get in and out of there during the pandemic, given all the restrictions, but hopefully by the fall, everything will be lifted. We do, alongside our client recordings, we also do, there's a studio dedicated for students where you can go in there and record all your narration. We'll teach you how to use all the equipment in there. It's just like a normal professional working studio with high quality equipment that's all industry standard. And that's just the stuff that's in the building. We also have dedicated audio equipment for all the audio students. And it's a little different than the video students in the sense that most of the audio gear, because audio, because of the nature of audio reporting, at least in most of the classes here, you guys tend to keep the gear for longer periods. So this is a standard kind of audio kit is an audio recorder. Typically a Zoom H5 is the recorder we use. A handheld microphone, a Sennheiser MD46, which is another industry standard microphone, a pair of studio Sony headphones, and then we have some other equipment. Chris mentioned a pistol grip, which is basically it's like a grip that holds a shotgun microphone, a really directional, highly sensitive microphone for field recording. We have mic stands and all sorts of audio gear. So plenty of stuff to support the podcast world.
I'd have to say we're a public school, so that's a given thing. Like we don't get to always have the bells and whistles that maybe Stanford has or Columbia at times. So people know those journalism schools, they get it. So we just so we're a public school in that regard, but we're a small program, which is kind of strange because usually public schools are even really big, but we're actually a large university, part of a large university, but we're a small journalism program and such. But I would have to say that for the journalism program that we are, I think that we're pretty well suited out with good gear.
I think you're doing good.
Yeah, we've got good Canon stuff, but also because the way the pandemic shook out last year, we were forced to buy more equipment quickly. And so now we've got a bunch of gear and things like that. So that's great. And I think our students will really greatly benefit from it. The thing I hear mostly from students who, after they graduate and they come back and they go, wow, I didn't know how expensive it was to rent this gear. And I wish I had used the gear more. And
Yeah.
those are the two primary things. So I would say to first years incoming is utilize every aspect of the equipment. You can't take our equipment to go shoot your weddings or wedding videos, but you can, every project that you do for a faculty member has a series of equipment available to the class. So absolutely borrow it, use it, learn it, and it's all great experience. Yeah. Was there anybody else that kind of give us some? I'm very excited because we feel, yeah. Hey, Laura.
Hi, I was just wondering when the boot camp was. Is it a summer program or is there like additional classes when we begin our semester?
No, I think everything kind of rolls into the time. I think Blaine can probably specify that I think the orientation is like August 20th to the 24th. So, or 2 days during that time. So orientation happens and then boot camp happens right on the heels of it, mostly because boot camp has to be like, you have to know how to use the gear in order to go out and photograph anything or shoot anything and things like that. So it's going to happen like by mid to late August, first week of September, like that's going to be the time frame of boot camp. But we also have second years who are coming back and we feel very dedicated to wanting to give even more technical instruction this year more than others because we feel alienated a little bit from our students because of the pandemic. And we want them to feel comfortable with getting into their thesis and having more time. So we will have many, many technical offerings, both for our first and second year students in the fall.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Can I ask where some people are from? I would love to know just states and things like that. It's just where people are from.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, love it. Okay, good deal.
Beautiful.
I'm from the blue state of Georgia.
Blue state. There we go. Good deal. Is anybody else from somewhere nearby? Yeah, we do get some Californians sometimes, but
Los Angeles.
nice. Good deal. That's exciting. Yeah. So between that, I mean, I think that we have this year especially is incredibly diverse crowd of students, a lot of international students and things. So I think that's great because everyone brings a different experience of media and journalism to the fold. And I feel very lucky by all the types of students we get from all over. Great. Blaine, was there anything else that we can offer to go over, or questions we can answer?
I think that's it.
Hey, Blaine,
Yeah, go for
can
it.
can I ask a quick question about the schedule on the calendar on the website, the academic calendar? It says the first class is August 25th. So, and he just said that, I'm sorry, it also says the semester begins on the 18th, and then he just said orientation is the 20th. So what day do we start school?
Yes. So due to like the academic calendar, things start. I guess what they mean by the semester begins on the 18th. That's when administratively it begins. Classes start on the 24th. So orientation, you can imagine, will be somewhere in between that window or maybe slightly before.
Yeah, he just said 20. He just said 20 to 24.
I wasn't being I shouldn't be exact on any way because
Oh
things
yeah.
change. So you shouldn't take my word as Bible, but other technical things I'll make sure when I'm giving you Bible-based things, I'll make sure I preface it. But you know, we've experienced a weird year because a lot of our dates and deadlines have been augmented and things. So and the last I heard was they were getting a decision about when it would actually happen. So I don't have those dates though.
Yeah, you know, the dates have not been officially confirmed, but just based off of prior years, it's usually around that time. But you'll be definitely getting those dates.
Mhm.
Reality has warped.
Just a smidge.
You know, the boot camp's really important, and we try to work the boot camp around classes sometimes because a lot of classes don't want to give up not meeting in order to do boot camp, but at the same time you need to learn how to use the stuff, you know, and there's only a certain amount of time, you know. So if we keep moving it earlier, a lot of people are like, oh, I have summer internships, I have a summer job, I can't be there till August 21st. I mean, my opinion is don't arrive right like a day before classes. Like, get some time to adjust. If you're not used to Berkeley or the Bay Area, you don't have wheels, you know, these are all important things and stuff. I mean, BART's around and you can get transportation, but you know, if you're new to the country or the system or the state, then I would suggest that you give yourself extra time. I don't know if people arrive as early as August 1st, but I would probably not recommend coming much later than August 15th because that's awfully close to go time, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've hit 5 o'clock. If there are any last questions.
Oh, you know what? Can we, I'm going to put my email in here for everybody. So
Yeah.
you're more than welcome to reach out to me if you have any other lasting questions or anything like that. That's my email address. So feel free to contact me.
What I'll do is I'll go on all the new admins are going on a particular website where it has all the events. So I'm just going to go through and put everyone's emails on there. So if they don't get it now, they can get it later.
You can put that on the new admin.
Yeah, the new admin site.
Thank you. That's nice.
Yeah.
And some things I may defer, you know, like someone may ask me a detailed question about something. I'm sort of hammered busy until mid-May. So forgive my delay if I'm at all delayed, just because we're getting through thesis projects until then. But I may defer towards like, oh, I'll let everyone know in the beginning of the summer. But if it's something specific, like you have to buy a laptop now because of some inheritance that you have to spend, I can surely spend your money for you. So you know, reach out and you know, make sure it's like that. You know, make sure you get the right thing.
I might send you my 2018 specs.
Someone can redirect me the Biden money that everyone's getting, Now, well, it's very nice to meet everybody, and at least semi-virtually, and we look forward to having you here in the fall.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
thank you, Chris. Thank you, Rick.
Bye-bye.
Absolutely.